Take a deep breath and let your eyes gently close, allowing the weight of the day to drift away from your shoulders. Find a comfortable position, one where your body feels fully supported, where you can remain still and soft for a while. There is nothing you need to do right now, nowhere you need to be, except here, in this quiet space of observation and reflection. Let your breathing slow down, inhaling the calm and exhaling any tension, finding a rhythm that feels natural and soothing, like the slow, steady lapping of waves against a distant shore, or the gentle swaying of branches in a soft breeze. Tonight, we are going to embark on a journey into the quietest corners of history, exploring the shadowed edges of the human experience. It is a journey that asks us to look into the mirror of our own nature, to question what it truly means to be human, and to consider the fragile, invisible threads that bind us to one another, and to the civilized world we call home. We often think of our humanity as something fixed, something innate that lives within our bones. But tonight, we will wander into the woods to find those who were left behind, the children of the wild, the feral ones who grew up not in the warmth of a nursery, but in the embrace of the forest, the kennel, or the silent, dusty room. It is a somber topic, one touched by sadness and mystery. Yet we approach it not with fear or morbid curiosity, but with a deep sense of compassion and a desire to understand the resilience of the human spirit. As we drift through these stories, imagine them as fables of survival, testaments to the way life clings to existence, even in the most solitary of circumstances. Imagine, if you will, the edge of a dense, ancient forest. It is twilight, that magical, suspended hour between day and night, when the colors of the world mute into shades of indigo and gray. The air is cool and smells of damp earth, pine needles, and the coming rain. Here, at the tree line, the structures of man end. The paved roads dissolve into dirt paths, and the paths eventually disappear into the undergrowth. This is the boundary, the thin veil between the ordered world of language, rules, and clocks, and the chaotic, timeless world of nature. Most of us live firmly on one side of this boundary. Our lives are defined by words. We think in sentences. We express our feelings through complex sounds. We rely on the reflection of others to know who we are. But what happens when a human soul takes root on the other side of that line? What happens to the mind of a child when it is formed not by the sound of a mother's lullaby, but by the rustling of leaves, the howling of wolves, or the profound, heavy silence of isolation? This is the realm of the feral child. The term itself, feral, comes from the Latin feralis, belonging to the dead, or fera, wild beast. It is a word that evokes a sense of untamed energy, of something that has returned to a primitive state. Throughout history, these children have captivated the imagination of philosophers, scientists, and storytellers. They appear in our myths, like Romulus and Remus suckled by a she-wolf, or Mowgli in the jungle. In fiction, there is a romantic quality to them, a sense of freedom from the burdens of society. We imagine them running on all fours, strong and uninhibited, masters of their domain. But the reality, as we will explore, is often quieter, more fragile, and deeply touching in its tragedy. These are not merely stories of adventure, but profound case studies in solitude. When we strip away culture, when we remove language, when we take away the mirror of human interaction, what remains? Is there a core self that exists without words? Or are we, in essence, a reflection of those who raise us? Let yourself drift deeper into this contemplation. Imagine the mind of a child as a blank slate, a soft clay waiting to be molded. In the usual course of things, that clay is shaped by warm hands, by voices teaching names for colors, for animals, for emotions. But for the feral child, the clay is shaped by the wind. It is shaped by the harshness of the cold, the texture of bark, the taste of raw sustenance. Their reality is entirely sensory. They do not know the word for lonely. They only know the feeling of the empty space around them. They do not know the word for hunger, only the gnawing sensation in the belly and the instinct to forage. As we prepare to look at specific lives, let us hold a space of empathy for them. We are entering their silent world. It is a world where time does not move in hours or minutes, but in the cycles of the sun and the moon. A world where the primary objective is not success or happiness or knowledge, but simply to breathe, to survive the night, to wake up and see the dawn. There is a certain stillness in this kind of existence. Without the constant chatter of the internal monologue, that voice in our heads that narrates our lives, the feral mind is perhaps more present than we can ever truly understand. They are entirely here, in the moment. When a twig snaps, they do not think, that is a twig. They simply react. They are pure awareness, merged with their environment in a way that civilized people spend lifetimes trying to achieve through meditation. And yet, the cost of this immersion is the loss of connection. It is a solitude so profound, it is almost impossible for us to comprehend. The stories we will uncover are scattered across centuries and continents. Some come from the deep woods of France in the 18th century, others from the vast steppes of Russia or the crowded suburbs of modern America. The circumstances of their isolation vary. Some were lost, wandering away from safety and being adopted, in a sense, by the wild. Others were hidden away, victims of cruelty or neglect, locked in attics or basements, their wildness created not by nature, but by the darkness of human failure. But in every case, there is a common thread. It is the thread of resilience. The human body and mind are miraculous in their ability to adapt. When denied human contact, these children found other ways to be. They learned the languages of birds. They mimicked the gait of dogs. They developed heightened senses of smell and hearing that border on the supernatural. They became what they needed to be to endure. As we settle further into relaxation, let the image of the forest return to your mind. See the moonlight filtering through the high canopy, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. It is quiet here. The only sound is the gentle rustle of the wind moving through the leaves, a sound like a long hush over the world. In this silence, we can begin to hear the echoes of their stories. We must approach these narratives slowly, with a gentle heart. We are not here to judge the darkness, but to witness the flicker of life that persisted within it. We are here to honor the lost and to learn from them. For in their silence, they tell us everything about the necessity of love, of touch, and of the spoken word. The history of feral children is, in many ways, the history of our own self-discovery. When scientists and doctors first encountered these children, they saw them as the ultimate experiment. Here was a chance to answer the age-old debate of nature versus nurture. If a child grows up without society, do they possess a moral compass? Do they have a soul? These were the questions whispered in the lecture halls of the past. But tonight, we ask different questions. We ask, what did they feel when the first snow fell? What comfort did they find in the company of animals? And how did the world look to eyes that had never seen a book, a mirror, or a smile? Let the questions float away like leaves on a stream, drifting downstream, out of sight. You do not need the answers right now. You only need to be present with the story, present with the calm rhythm of my voice. The darkness of the room around you is a blanket of safety. You are warm. You are connected. You are safe. And from this place of safety, we can begin to peer into the lives of those who walked alone. We will start by drifting back in time to an era before electric lights, before the noise of the modern world, to a time when the woods were deeper, darker, and full of secrets. We will travel to the French countryside, to the dawn of the 19th century, where a boy was seen emerging from the woods, a boy who would challenge everything the world thought it knew about humanity. But before we meet him, take a moment to enjoy the stillness, the peace, the simple, rhythmic beat of your own heart. It is the same rhythm that beat in the chests of those wild children. It is the universal drum of life, sounding in the dark, proving that no matter how far we wander, no matter how lost we become, the life force within us continues, steady, strong, and enduring. Relax your jaw, soften your eyes, and let us walk gently into the woods. The trees of the Aveyron district in southern France are old, their roots twisted deep into the rocky soil, holding stories that have been whispered by the wind for centuries. It is here, in the biting chill of a winter long past, that we find our first shadow. Imagine the silence of this forest, a silence so profound that the snapping of a dry twig sounds like a thunderclap. In this silence, a boy moves. He is not walking as you or I might walk, with purpose or destination. He moves like the wind itself, erratic, fluid, completely at one with the landscape. He is naked, yet he does not shiver. The frost that clings to the bark of the oak trees does not seem to touch him. His skin, toughened by years of exposure, has become his own coat, a living parchment that records the scratches of briars and the bites of insects, yet he feels no pain. To him, the sensation of the rough earth beneath his calloused feet is not discomfort, but information. He feels the vibration of a rabbit thumping the ground miles away. He smells the coming snow before the clouds have even gathered gray in the sky. He is wild, in the truest sense of the word. Not merely lost, but belonging to the wildness. When the villagers finally captured him, emerging from the brush like a mythical creature caught in a net of reality, he did not speak. He did not plead. He only looked at them with eyes that held the vast, empty reflection of the sky. They called him the Wild Boy of Aveyron, and later he would be given the name Victor. But names are things of the civilized world, heavy labels that meant nothing to a soul who had known only the language of birds and the rustle of leaves. Picture him now, transported from the vast, open cathedral of the forest to the confines of a stone room in Paris. The transition is jarring, a sudden compression of his universe. He is surrounded by walls that do not breathe, by air that is stagnant and smells of coal smoke and perfume. The people of the city, the scholars, the curious, they flock to see him. They expect a noble savage, a philosopher of nature. But what they find is a boy who rocks back and forth, a boy who finds the clothes they force upon him to be a cage. And yet, even in this captivity, there is a profound stillness within him. He does not understand their words, their social graces, their urgent need to categorize him. He simply exists. There is a young doctor, Jean-Marc Gaspar Itard, who looks at Victor not as a beast, but as a sleeping mind waiting to be awakened. Itard spends hours with him, days, years. Watch them in the quiet of the doctor's study. The fire crackles in the hearth, a sound Victor loves. He sits by the warmth, staring into the flames, his body swaying gently to a rhythm only he can hear. Itard tries to teach him. He uses letters, shapes, sounds. But Victor's attention is like a butterfly, landing for a moment before fluttering away to the window, where the moonlight spills onto the floor. It is said that Victor had a peculiar relationship with sound. A pistol could be fired behind his head, a shocking, violent noise, and he would not even blink. To him, it was just a meaningless disruption in the air. But if a walnut was cracked across the room, or if a chestnut fell from a pocket to the floor, he would turn instantly. His world was tuned to the frequencies of survival, to the sounds of sustenance. The noise of humanity was just static to him, easily ignored, easily filtered out as he retreated into the sanctuary of his own mind. Think of the isolation of that existence. To be surrounded by people, yet to be completely alone in your perception of reality. And yet, is there not a kind of peace in that solitude? A freedom from the expectations, the anxieties, the complex webs we weave for ourselves. Victor lived in the present moment. He did not worry about tomorrow. He did not regret yesterday. He felt the warmth of the bath water, a sensation he came to love deeply. And in that moment, the bath was his entire universe. The water holding him, buoyant, weightless, safe. Let us drift away from Paris now, leaving Victor gazing out of his window at the tops of the trees he can no longer climb. We float eastwards, across the rivers and valleys of Europe, drifting through the mists of time to a different town, a different square, in Nuremberg, Germany. The year is 1828. The cobblestones are damp with the morning dew. Here, another figure appears, seemingly from nowhere. A young man, perhaps 16 years of age, standing unsteadily in the town square. He holds a letter in his hand, a letter addressed to a captain of the cavalry. He is dressed in ill-fitting clothes, his boots are too tight, and he sways as if the ground itself is moving beneath him. This is Kaspar Hauser. Kaspar's story is a different kind of darkness. Unlike Victor, who had the vast freedom of the woods, Kaspar had known only a small, dark cell. He describes a life where he sat on the floor, day after day, night after night, in a room so small he could not stand upright. He never saw the sun. He never saw the moon. His only companion was a wooden toy horse, which he dragged back and forth across the floor, the repetitive motion a soothing balm for a mind starved of stimulation. Imagine the sensory deprivation. No wind, no rain, no voices, just the silent walls and the bread and water left for him while he slept. When he awoke in the town square, the world was an assault on his senses. The light was blinding, searing his eyes, which had only known the twilight of his dungeon. The smells of the market, the horses, the baking bread were overwhelming, dizzying. He walked with the hesitation of a toddler, for he had never truly learned to walk. His skin was pale and soft, untouched by the sun. When he spoke, his vocabulary was limited, fragmented. He would say, "I want to be a horseman like my father was," a phrase he had learned by rote, a parrot mimicking a sound without knowing its meaning. Consider the resilience of the human spirit in such a void. How does the mind survive when there is nothing to feed it? Kaspar was like a visitor from another planet. To him, all objects were alive. If a piece of paper fell, he believed it was tired. If a candle flickered, he thought it was hurting. He had no concept of the inanimate. In his world of solitude, everything had a spirit. Everything was a companion. When he was given flowers, he did not just admire them, he spoke to them. He felt a deep kinship with all things, perhaps because for so long he had been denied kinship with his own kind. As you listen, feel the weight of your own blanket, the softness of your pillow. Contrast this comfort with the hard stone floor where Kaspar sat for years. Let his story not be a source of fear, but a reminder of the precious nature of connection. He was a child of the dark, thrust into the light, blinking, confused, yet gentle. His presence in the world was a mirror. People looked at him and saw their own assumptions reflected back. Some saw a fraud, a prince in hiding. Others saw a wholly innocent, a soul uncorrupted by society. But Kaspar, in his heart, just wanted to go home. Not to a specific house, but to a place where the noise would stop. He often cried for his dark cell, for the peace of the nothingness he had known. The world was too loud, too bright, too full of sharp edges. Let your breathing slow down to match the gentle, plodding rhythm of Kaspar's wooden horse, back and forth, back and forth. A simple, steady motion. There is a hypnotic quality to it. In the chaos of his new life, he sought that rhythm. He sought the familiar. We are all, in some ways, seeking that familiar rhythm, the beat of safety, the cadence of rest. As we leave Kaspar standing in the moonlight of Nuremberg, confused but alive, we realize that these children, Victor in his forests, Kaspar in his cell, were travelers in a landscape few of us will ever visit. They walked the borders of what it means to be human. They lived in the spaces between words, in the silence between thoughts. Drifting further now, the narrative of these lives becomes a soft hum in the background. We are not judging them. We are not analyzing them. We are simply witnessing them, like clouds passing over a still lake. Their struggles, their confusion, dissolve into the mist. What remains is the essence of their being, the life force that persisted against all odds. The darkness around you is not the darkness of Kaspar's cell. It is a darkness of rest. It is expansive, infinite, and kind. It holds you gently, just as the forest once held Victor. You are free to close your eyes, to let the images of the past fade into the velvet blackness. We have one more journey to take, one more life to peer into before we settle completely into the night. A story from a time closer to our own, where the lines between the animal and the human blur even further. But for now, simply breathe. Let the air fill your lungs, cool and cleansing. Exhale the tension, exhale the sorrow of the past. You are here, you are now. The woods are quiet, the city is sleeping, and you are drifting deeper and deeper into the calm. And so, as we drift deeper, we find ourselves touching upon that final story, a memory from a time much nearer to our own. It is a story that unfolds not in the ancient woods of France or the stone towers of Nuremberg, but in the rural stillness of Ukraine in the early 1990s. Here, the lines between the human and the animal do not just blur, they vanish completely, replaced by the simple, undeniable warmth of shared survival. Imagine, if you will, a farmyard in winter. The air is crisp and biting, the kind of cold that turns breath into thick, white plumes of mist. The snow lies heavy on the ground, silencing the world, muffling the footsteps of anyone who walks upon it. In this landscape, there is a child, a young girl, seeking only one thing: warmth. She does not find it in the house, she finds it in the kennel. We are not looking at the why or the how of her arrival there. We are only looking at the sensation of the moment she enters. She crawls into the small wooden shelter. It is filled with straw, dry and golden, smelling of earth and grain. And there she finds her guardians. Not people, but dogs. In the narrative of the wild child, this is perhaps the most profound merging of worlds. The dogs do not see a girl, they see a being in need of heat. They see a pack member. Picture the scene, not with sadness, but with a sense of primal comfort. She curls up among them, the soft fur against her skin, the rhythmic rise and fall of their rib cages, the steady, drum-like beating of their hearts. There is a deep, ancient safety here. The dogs surround her, a living blanket of protection. Their body heat creates a small, isolated ecosystem against the freezing night. She learns to breathe as they breathe, slow, deep, alert, yet restful. She learns the language of the ear twitch, the low rumble in the throat, the silence that speaks of safety. For years, this was her reality. Running on all fours, her center of gravity low to the earth, connected to the soil. Her senses sharpening, her eyes adjusting to the dark, her nose reading the wind. It is a testament to the adaptability of the spirit, to the way life will always find a way to sustain itself, even if it must borrow the instincts of another species to do so. But now, let that image soften. Let the farmyard fade into the gray mist of memory. The girl, the dogs, the straw, they are all dissolving now. They are becoming part of the great, silent history of the world. We release them. We let them go. Their struggle is over. They have found their peace, and now it is time for you to find yours. The stories are done. The book is closed. There is no more need to wonder, no more need to understand. You are far removed from the cold of the forest, far from the solitude of the cell, far from the kennel in the snow. Bring your attention back to your own sanctuary. Feel the surface beneath you. It is not the hard earth of Aveyron. It is soft, supportive, designed for your rest. Feel the fabric of your covers. They are not rough animal skins or scratchy straw. They are smooth, warm, and clean. You are held in a cocoon of safety that was made just for you. Notice the temperature of the room around you. It is perfect, controlled, protected. The walls of your room stand like silent sentinels, guarding you against the wind, against the noise, against the world outside. You are in a fortress of calm. Let us scan down through the body now, releasing any lingering echoes of tension. Imagine a warm, golden light, similar to the candlelight Kaspar might have known, but this light is infinite and soothing. It begins at the crown of your head. It is heavy, like warm honey, slowly flowing down. It touches your forehead, smoothing out the lines of thought. The questions of the day, the stories of the wild children, they are pushed aside by this gentle weight. The light flows down over your eyes, which are heavy now, so very heavy. The muscles around them relax, letting go of the need to see, the need to watch. It is safe to be blind to the world for a while. The warmth travels down your cheeks, unclenching your jaw. Let your tongue rest softly in your mouth. Let your throat open, allowing the breath to pass through effortlessly. In and out. A slow, tidal rhythm. You are breathing not for survival, but for restoration. Down into your shoulders, the place where we carry the weight of our own humanity. Feel them drop, sinking deeper into the mattress. The heavy light flows down your arms, past the elbows, to the wrists, and into the hands. Your fingers, which do so much, curl softly, empty and still. They hold nothing now. They need to do nothing. The warmth moves into your chest, your heart beating a slow, steady lullaby. It flows into your stomach, unknotting any tightness, bringing a deep sense of digestion and rest. Down into the hips, the heavy anchors of your body. You feel the pull of gravity, friendly and grounding, keeping you here, safe in this moment. down through the thighs, the knees, the calves. Your legs, which walk through your own daily forests, are now still. They are heavy logs, sinking into the soft earth of the bed. And finally, to your feet and your toes. The warmth fills them and then radiates out, creating a shield of comfort around your entire being. You are no longer a witness to the struggles of the past. You are simply a consciousness, floating in a sea of tranquility. The feral children, Victor, Kaspar, the others, they are stars in a distant sky now. They twinkle faintly, beautiful and remote, but they cannot touch you. Their lives have returned to the mystery from which they came. Everything is quiet. The only sound is the sound of your own existence. The gentle rush of air, the faint beat of your heart. You are part of the natural world, just as they were, but your nature is one of peace. Your instinct is to sleep. The darkness behind your eyelids is vast. It is a velvet curtain, rich and thick. Step through that curtain. On the other side, there is only silence. A silence that is soft and kind. It wraps around you like the night air, cool and refreshing. Drift on this dark ocean. There is no shore in sight, and you do not need one. You are safe on the water. The waves rock you, gently, up and down, up and down. With every movement, you sink deeper. The separation between you and the sleep you need is dissolving. Just as the mist dissolves in the morning sun, the barrier between waking and sleeping is gone. You are crossing over. The bridge is behind you. The forest is quiet. The city is silent. The world has stopped its spinning, just for you. Rest now. The journey is over. The stories are told. The silence is yours. Deep, dreamless, restorative peace. Drift, float, sleep. Good night.